Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this radio live stream. And I've just looked at the clock and I'm going to have to head off to the meeting in about 15 minutes, so I'll get on with this. The subject of this essay is the advertising standards that we're allowed to see, whether it's on social media or television or anywhere, billboards, it could be anything. Or even that we're allowed to hear on radios and the like. The images we're allowed to see and how people and races and groups and genders and so on are depicted is a very vital and essential part of the globalization propaganda script. And it's not surprising that the globalists have thoroughly infiltrated all of the advertising standards councils and governing bodies and review panels all across the Western world. Magically, they've all appeared, and they're all very pro-globalist and very pro the globalist project. What a coincidence! Who would have thunk it? But given that the imagery of what people see is again a critical part of the globalist propaganda script, it's hardly surprising that they saw this and realized this and went for it very early to control it. So when you look at adverts on any medium, anywhere in the media, when you look at adverts, you'll be surprised to note how many couples are depicted as mixed race, with a very urbane, very well-dressed, very handsome-looking black guy with a white woman, often with red or blonde hair, and how often black people, particularly black men, are showed in positions of moral authority. So they're showing the white guys how it's done. White guys, they're all fascists, the white guys, and then they're behaving badly. They're misogynist and all sorts of bad things. The black guy, by contrast, is a paragon of moral virtue in his, expensive designer label clothes. He's working out at the gym, all day. How this guy ever gets time for working is beyond me. But he's and when he is at work, he's the president of the fucking bank. Because he's a damn genius, and so on and so forth. So you'll be wondering why there's this depiction of white people bad, white people stupid, particularly straight white men. Well, straight white men primarily, bad, stupid, idiotic, evil, misogynist, racist, fascist, Nazi, yada yada yada. Whereas black people, or any brown or black people, by contrast, are depicted, particularly sub-Saharan African of genetic origin, depicted in the most positive and flattering light. Now, for anyone who knows the real world, which is most of us, we know that that's the exact opposite of how the real world is. So why would the advertising standards be required to present the world in the exact opposite to any reality? Why would it be required to present the world in this childlike fantasy world? And it reminds me of the kids when they were younger, how they thought that if they closed their eyes that everyone else disappeared. Or they disappeared rather, so they could switch on and switch off a reality just by closing their eyes. And this is really the sort of intellectual standard of some of this. These people seem to be children, incredibly childlike, a bit like the previous executives of Twitter. You listen to some of them talk, they sound like 10-year-old children. And even on a good day, they may be, the senior high school debating club at best. But beyond that, they act like children who've never had to accept responsibility, take responsibility for decisions, never had to have a real job, where they've been measured on performance and this sort of thing. So anyway, I'm looking. This is just one advertising council. No, I actually had. I was at a dinner where there was a member of an advertising governing body, public advertising governing body, and I picked up a few things there. Unfortunately, they were across the table from me, so I couldn't kind of get into deep discussion with them on a one-on-one basis. But they were there, and I thought this could be a basis maybe for a video later on. But I was prompted into this by seeing a video by History Debunked. I think it was yesterday. Which sort of okay, I was meaning to do a video about that. So anyway, I looked at this one governing body. Now there are 15 members of the body. Now you think that would create a fairly range of diverse views, but no, they are utterly unanimous, and what they talk about, which is something that really is they talk about the social power dynamic and the imbalances within the social power dynamic. Now, this gives them then license to invent this fantasy world that we see, where all the black men are super fit, super good looking, super rich, super urbane, morally superior, and all this sort of thing. Now, maybe these black men do exist, but if they do exist, I've never met them or seen or heard about them or anything like that. So, but I'm sure if you search long enough or hard enough, you'll find some. But the idea that the adverts suggest or portray is that's the natural order and standard for black people, particularly black men. Now, if you've ever sort of been near a black neighborhood in the United States or elsewhere in any other continent, urbane and wise and restrained and superbly well dressed, as opposed to gaudy and gauche, superbly well dressed and super fit and all that sort of thing. No, that's not what you see. So that's the exact opposite of how the reality is. So this is how they portray. Now, the social power dynamic is what they use is to say, well, white people, straight white males, hold all the social power. Thus, we're allowed to depict them negatively in adverts because of all this social power they have. Whereas we declare ideologically, we just through Marxist ideology, we declare that these other groups, for example, black people, do not have social power. So we are obligated, we are required to depict these people due to their alleged lack of social power or ideologically determined lack of social power. We have to depict them in advertising, and it's mandatory to do so in a flattering and positive light, that they are very desirable husbands for white women or partners. They are the preferred employee for professional occupations. They are definitely the best customers for expensive brand name designer label clothes. They definitely drive the most expensive cars. They have the best jobs. They are the best behaved, the best educated, and so on. So this is something like, now maybe they'll get black people to aspire to that sort of standard. I somehow doubt it, but I think it just whets appetites amongst black people when they see these things for, well, I want all those things. I want the hot white chicks. I want the nice house. I want the nice car. I want those fancy clothes. I want all that. So, hey, dude. But I want it, and I want to use the communal ownership theory that if these white people have so much, they should just give it to me. I shouldn't have to bust my ass at school or at college or at work, or I shouldn't have to change my behavior and hanging out with the boys in the hood and knifing a few people. And I shouldn't have to change that behavior. I should just be given these things. And that black dude in the advert just proves that I should have those things. And anyone that gets my way is a fucking Nazi. So that's, I think it whets appetites in all the wrong ways. But the important thing is it creates a fantasy. If they had an advert of a black guy, for example, a black guy who starts school and arrives on time, he's obedient in class, doesn't disruptive, he's working hard, and he's hitting those books, and or she, they're really studying hard, swatting up and busting their ass studying for the exam that's coming, and so on. The boys in the hood try and get the guys to come out onto the street and go and knife a few people and bash up, and they say, no, I'm staying in to do my piano lessons, that sort of stuff. Then that would be different. Then they're encouraging a totally different behaviour of that particular racial group. That, I think, would be quite helpful, or potentially helpful. It would show, well, this is the way you can have that nice house, or the hot blonde chicks, or the nice car, or the nice clothes, or the good job. That's how you can do it, by doing this. But instead, they just pretend in this fantasy world that all the black people are super sophisticated, well dressed, super fit, morally superior people. So that is a fucking fantasy, and again, I think it conveys the wrong image. Now, similarly, they're saying that all white people are bad fascist Nazis, and only white people are the problem with society. All society's problems come from those damn fucking fascist Nazi white people, straight white fucking males, the damn Nazis. And that's also an absurd and unrealistic depiction of reality. Now, coming back to the members of this board, there's, I think it's 15 of them. There's 8 women, 7 men, and 8 of the board members are non-white. So there's a majority of non-whites and a majority of women. That wouldn't happen in the natural world, so that's clearly been stacked. So that there's that. All the people on the board are professional public service NGO goons, all of them. There is not one person from the private sector who's had a real job. These people have worked in government or been given gifts in government jobs and sinecures all their lives. And again, not one of them has had a real job. There'd be 1 gay guy and 3 lesbians. And so again, the gay lesbian community is quite overrepresented there. But there's an absolute total unanimity of opinion here. They all follow the Marxist globalist script and everything is seen through the lens of social power imbalances. Nothing is seen through the lens of reality. Nothing is seen through encouraging good behaviour or encouraging civic sense of duty. Nothing. It is all through this lens of power, social power, imbalance dynamics, and all this sort of Marxist bullshit. And they've managed to pick 15 people who all strongly believe in that. Now, whether those people privately in their private moments believe in that or not, but none of these people could get a real job in the real world. So they're being well paid, as many people are in the world today, by the way, all across the Western world. The amount of people who are paid well and given prestigious, well-paying jobs just because they assist and implement and further the globalist project is growing by the day. And I think I've mentioned in other videos that all the best paid jobs, well, nearly all the best paid jobs now, certainly in Australia and in Britain and places like that, Canada, all the best paid jobs. Whereas once 90% of the best paid jobs were in the private sector, now 90% of the best paid jobs are things like diversity and inclusion directors and working for NGOs as agitators and so on. There's one well-paid gig that somebody mentioned to me that I looked up a couple of days ago. Spreading Marxist propaganda all around the Pacific Islands. And getting paid hands, and it doesn't. It's not, the headline amount isn't vast, but it's say $300,000 a year, but you don't pay any tax, and all your living expenses are covered. So that's equivalent to in probably $750,000 a year in taxable income terms. Now, $750,000 a year, that's a decent gig, and you kind of need it if you want to get ahead in places like Sydney these days. But that's the sort of money that pays. Now, there's a tiny proportion of private sector jobs are paying that sort of money, and if you're in the real sort of rough end of the private sector where you're at commit, you've got to fucking work hard if you want to make that sort of money. So coming back to the this idea, these people are probably unemployable in the real world. They're only being used as recycled goon flunky stooges into the globalist propaganda machine. And that's their only job, is to suppress anything that's pro. I haven't seen an advert at all in the city advertising for, I don't know how long, that depicts white people in a positive light, even a restrained positive light. You're lucky to even see a white family on an advert. You can see it in regional Australia, where it's local to some regional town, where there maybe is only white people there, or 99% white people. You might see it there, but in the city you don't. In university adverts, as an example, you're lucky to see any white people. They're nearly all brown and black females. So this is the effect of these advertising councils. But I think it's important to understand they are all globalist project enforcers. Depict white people negatively, depict all non-white people positively. But to do that, they have to create this fantasy reality that doesn't exist anywhere. And I think if they really want to make a difference, they really want to make a difference to the civists, rather than play these silly games of so ideological children playing with games of ideological power imbalance, all trying to use the right cool words to make their little debating club point. People have never had a real job and never taken responsibility. If they want to make a difference in advertising, it's to show to these so-called marginalized groups that if they don't want to be sort of at the bottom of the socio-economic stack, that there are things they can do to improve their position that aren't just affirmative action and handouts and giveaways and dreams of communist utopias, but it's to change their behaviour that would make a difference to their life outcomes. And poor decisions like 25-year-old women black women already having 6 children by 6 different partners and things like that. That's not going to help. You're not going to get ahead like that. And nor are the children you have going to have any particular advantage in life either. Bad life decisions have misfortunes do as well, but bad life decisions have consequences. Where you can do something about your situation, do it. And if the advertising went along those lines, but I don't think even that's going to happen. It would be treated with howls of outrage would become from all sides. Oh, white people lecturing the oppressed again, you fucking Nazis. It would go something like that. So I'm not hopeful. But the fantasy world that they depict in the adverts is insane, and it needs to stop. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.